I gotta.
Live, live, and it's just me. All right, there we go. Okay, that's better than it was.
Yeah. All right. So we're starting tonight,
Bruce,
and this is Bruce Brown, and he's a former police officer, and he's seen pretty much everything. So,
Yeah.
Bruce, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Bruce Brown, former law enforcement officer, patrolman, deputy sheriff, sergeant, sergeant of patrol, detective, chief of narcotics.
Wow, man, you got it all. You should be running the station by now.
Yeah, I hadn't got hurt busting the old timey meth labs. I'd probably be sheriff now.
yeah.
Even the meth labs affect everybody else's life too, not just the people that are doing it, which is
Right.
sad. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we saw
Oh, that
you
stuff's
the other day.
terrible. It ruins
Oh yeah.
lives.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff's horrible. We saw you the other day on Daryl and Ron's show, and I was noticing how many encounters you have, and I think you said 22.
No, I've got around 29 to 30 at that time, and I've got picked up 3 more encounters since then.
Wow.
Wow.
Since then, because you were what, last week on Daryl's show?
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh wow, damn. Yeah, no. So you really have seen him, and you said you're Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah.
So,
I work
oh,
mainly off the Warriors Path, which is if you look it up, the middle Warriors Path in Tennessee goes through Alabama up through Sparta, through Cookville, Tennessee, and Livingston.
yeah. Jeez.
Runs through around the Standing Stone State Park of Hillham, Tennessee, and goes into Pickett County and then into Kentucky. And
Yes.
that's a 2,000 or 3,000 year old path.
Dang.
Yes.
That thing's
Yeah.
ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got several pictures of ancient fireplace pits and caves with lithographs drawn on the walls.
Does the Appalachians run through that area too?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm at the right there. I'm at the Cumberland at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and then I do investigations in the Appalachian Mountains too.
Yeah, they talk
So
about how old the Appalachian Mountains are, the trails, and what's how it's evolved, and that thing's just it's full of mysteries.
Yeah. All formed by glaciers.
Right, and you get around the Sparta Cookville area. Excuse me, I got a head cold. I had to swim a.
Don't even worry about it. We're pretty casual here, so
yeah,
we're getting it out.
I had a dogman encounter just a few days in Standing Stone State Park.
Wow.
And we had some people above us, and the dog man I was dealing with was friendly, and he motioned with his hand for me to follow him, and we had jumped into a little lake there. It's about a 10-acre lake, ice cold water, and we swam across to the other side, and there's a boat dock there with a roof over it. It's got paddle boats and stuff in it. So I hung around to the side of the bank after crossing the lake, and he stayed in front of me. And then we got to the boathouse there where the paddle boats and stuff were, and he waited on me. We stayed about 10 yards apart, and then that water was so cold, it shocked to my system. So we crossed the road and went down below the Standing Stone Creek Dam or Lake Dam which is it's a rock dam that was made. Only one car can pass at a time on it. It's a short dam. So we followed down below it and followed the creek in behind the main road. And after we got so far down there, we come across some people. We could hear them talking. And he motioned me to follow him. And he took me out to the left. We climbed a mountainside and got within hearing shot of a road. And he held his hand to his chest and motioned me to go towards that road. And I could hear a car coming. And I was froze. I mean, the water had to be 40-something degrees. And he motioned me to go to the road. And just a minute or two, I heard a vehicle coming. So I crossed the field, 150 acres, through a pine thicket and crossed a little field to the main road. And I got picked up by a person there on the road called Baptist Ridge Road.
Oh, cool.
And then I was able to get a ride back to where my car was on the other side of Standing Stone State Park on the Livingston Highway.
Wow.
And then I ended up with a head cold, and that was my last encounter just a few days ago.
But
So
were you
anytime
ever
you walk
scared
in here-
when you was around him?
No, what
You
had
didn't feel
happened?
no fear?
Oh no, what had happened is when we were coming down the lane in a trail in the Standing Stone Park, there was some people above us that we didn't know, and we heard them talking. And then he went towards the lake part. It's about a 10-acre lake. And he motioned for me, and his motion was not like waving, but pushing away motion for me to follow him. He jumped in the water and a big splash, and the people up on the hill heard the splash and said, "What was that?" And then I eased down in the water and was swimming across. And they had those little, I call Walmart headlamps, wearing on their head.
Yeah.
And I hollered back and told them I was just me. I throwed a log in the water, which I did throw a log in the water because that's what I hung on to swim across the lake with him. He stayed out about 10 yards in front of me. And then when we got to the bank, right at the bank, instead of getting out of the water, we followed the bank around, and the spots were deep to where I could hang the tree leaves. But he swam on all fours and stayed a distance. Then we got down to a little dock that housed paddle boats. And he got up on that dock, the side of it. And then I got there. When I got up on the dock, then he stayed about 15 to 16 feet from me. And I guess he was under the impression that me and him were being chased by humans. So he took me down below the dam, had me to follow him, and just sort of like a mind speak, but I knew what he was wanting. So we get down below the dam, and it's like I said, it's just it's a bridge made out of rock, and it's only one car can pass on it at a time. So if you meet a car, you got to back up. When we went down below the spillway, and there's a clean area down in there that people go, and we could hear people talking. So he motioned to go to the left, and we went straight up a mountainside and then followed and got above them. And then when we got to a huge pine thicket, I was out of breath, so I leaned up against a tree. He squatted like an Asian person would squat. He just squatted. He didn't completely sit down. And then when we got closer to the top of the hill, he took his hand and put over his heart and then motioned without pointing. And then just a minute, I heard a car coming down the road, so there was a road there. And then when I started to the road, he went back down to the hill and cut to the left and crossed over a little branch and then went back to the right. And so I was froze. the water temperature was extremely cold, and he showed me back to the road. Heard the car coming. I walked across through a pine thicket out in the open field, and it wound up being a road that I knew was called Baptist Ridge Road. So a gentleman, a little younger than me, picked me up in a truck, and then he carried me back around through Standing Stone, back over on the other side of Standing Stone to Livingston, Tennessee Highway, and then was able to carry me to my car. And I cut the heat on in the car to get warmed up. I was soaking wet, and by the time I got home, I had warmed up, but my clothes were still wet. And then I ended up coming down with a head and congestion in my chest.
It could have been a lot worse, maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean,
better that than pneumonia or anything. Now that's right, something else. I would have been scared out of my britches if I had a dog man boasting or follow me.
Well,
exactly.
It's what I call sort of what a mind speak is. I couldn't fully understand what he was saying, but when he wanted to follow me, when we got below the dam and there was people on down this lane, he barked like a house dog, like a yard dog. And then he motioned with his hand, instead of pulling his hand in to follow him, he motioned with pushing his hands out. And so we'd started up this mountainside. He would stop and wait on me, but he wouldn't let me get over 8 or 10 feet close to him. But he was not aggressive. Matter of fact, he was friendly. And the only conclusion I'd come to is that he thought these people were chasing me and him, and he wanted to get out. And he was protecting me at the same time.
Well,
he brought me back out to a road, which right under the hill, I couldn't see the road, but I could hear the vehicles. Then he put his hand over his heart and then moved his hand out like that. He done that 2 or 3 times. And that,
like you're welcome type thing, or
no, he was protecting me. He was protecting me, telling me to go to the road, and then me not understanding exactly what he meant. When I heard a vehicle coming down that road, 150 yards from the road, I realized what he meant. So I made a beeline through the pine thickets and crossed into a small field that had briars in it, and come right out on what we call Baptist Ridge Road. And then I was picked up by a guy a little bit younger than me, and he asked me questions what I was doing wet and stuff, and I just told him I'd slipped down in the creek below the dam there and got wet and was coming back out. And I was probably a couple miles from my vehicle. When we get up in the country like that, there's some good old boys. They don't, they're good people. So he gave me a ride back to my car. And I thanked him, tried to pay him, and he wouldn't accept any money. But I got in my car, got it warmed up, and cut the heat on full blast. I rode all the way back to Cookville, which was about 21 miles, and then come in the house and took a good hot shower, popped me an ibuprofen and a Tylenol, and because my joints were hurting too from that cold water.
Yeah, I bet.
And after that, then the next morning, I come down with a head cold, and then got a chest cold. But no, he was protecting me. He thought that these people in the park were after me and him both.
That's something.
And I have ringing in the ears called tinnitus, but I've been to all the doctors and stuff, and that creates a frequency, and they tend to hunt me. And then
you think that's what attracts them?
Yes, I've had several attracted to me through tinnitus. You
That
putting out
makes sense.
you're
Ron
putting out
talks about certain frequencies, how they communicate with
yes,
frequencies, Ron Moorhead. So that could
yes,
be the very reason why you have so many encounters.
yes, yes. After talking with Ron and talking about quantum physics, energy, uh, light, matter, if you can change energy, you can change matter. And so me and him had a long discussion on my tendonitis, and he agrees with me that I don't have to go looking for them; they come looking for me.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
which is
gosh.
in the good.
You said
What-
you said
Which
you
is
had 2 other encounters too since the last podcast.
yeah.
Was those dog men also, or
Yeah. Well, I had one that was extraterrestrial, uh, walking in
Jeez.
walking out of portholes and stuff, which some people confuse that with paranormal. Laser
Yeah.
eyes,
Yeah.
laser eyes, a dog man that I've dealt with. After
Yeah.
playing with her puppy, she had a laser eyes that were when it shined on you, it was about to half the size of a coffee cup, the bottom of the coffee cup. So those laser dots would be on you, those red. And so I named her Laser Eyes. But
Yeah, I remember you talking about that one. That's pretty.
Yeah.
yeah. And she
That one was
followed
a
me.
scary one, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I didn't know what her intentions were. I had went up and found a trail that it was exceptionally wide. It was in the fall, the leaves had fell, and this trail was clean. It didn't have twigs or anything in it. It was just footprints. And I had come around the hill and was coming up the hill, and I seen this fir ball in a grapevine, and the grapevine can be as big around as your wrist, grows up into the top of the trees in different directions. And as a kid, we'd take a hatchet and cut that vine, and we could swing out over the hollers. It would hold your weight. When I come
That
up
is cool.
on that, at the time I didn't know what it was. It was a fur ball coming down the grapevine, and it was about 8 foot above my head, and it slowly coming down. I had gloves in my pocket, but I didn't put them on. I just held the glove out in front of my hand to touch it to see if it was aggressive. Now, still not knowing what I'm dealing with, it had a bloody tail. The tail was cut off short and was bloody. So after messing with him for a minute, I realized he wasn't aggressive. So I picked him up off when he come down to where I could gently pick him up. I picked him up and sat down on the ground and set him in my lap. And he was just fur. He had no hair, just a fur ball. So looking at him, it was just completely unusual. I hadn't seen that, and I knew that there weren't any tame dogs in the particular area I was in. And this thing didn't look like a dog. So sitting there playing with him, I had raised his gum up to look at his teeth just out of curiosity. He had 3-foot fangs, and his bottom teeth, when I closed his mouth and opened his gums up, those teeth in his bottom were about 2.5 to 3 inches long, fit perfectly up in a pocket. So examining his mouth, he had a pink and black color in his mouth, blotchy. So when I raised the top ones up, they sat outside the gum, and they were probably 3 to 3.5 inches. So this thing didn't weigh but about 15 pounds. It was just a fur ball, no hair, just fur, just a fur ball.
Dogman pup.
Dogman pup. Yep. Later found out. Yep. So I raised the fur back on his eyes to see what color eyes he was, and it had clear-looking marbles in his eyes. There were no pupils, no blood veins, no white around the eyes. He had a black purple around the eyes, back where in the sockets. And then when I was looking, of course, I had him in my face, and I was looking directly into his eyes, and there was nothing there but glass eyes. It's like looking into two marbles. So I petted him there a few minutes and checking his tail out. And the tail wasn't cut. It looked like he'd been in an accident or got it bitten off. And I set him down on the ground out of my lap. And his front legs had huge paws, and they looked like human hands with claws. When I set him down on the path, from his hand to his elbow touched the ground, and that's how he walked. Now, the back feet were normal, but exceptionally big. The pad was big. So after messing with him a minute, I decided, well, I'll put him back in the tree for safety reasons. And I set him back up on this vine, and these huge claws retracted, and he started slowly going up the vine. I got to thinking, well, there's a mother around here somewhere. And it's not tame. I just don't know what it is. So I go down a couple hollers. I cross 2 points, go into a third holler, and go up on a rock and sit down on this rock. And I've seen something moving to the left of me. While I'm resting on this rock, I'm give out. And it's a dog man on 4 legs with floppy ears. And I'm just, wow. I'm just wow. And it doesn't see me, but when it gets straight in line with me, keep in mind, I'm 30 to 35 yards up on this mountainside. He's in the creek. Well, just out of the blue, he stands up and looks directly at me. And I'm sitting on this rock, and he lets out this terrible scream, and it just jolts me like I was tasered and locks me up. Well, just a few seconds, I get back to my senses, and I ease around and get behind a giant tree. And I'm poking my head around the tree watching. By this time, he's come up on 2 legs, and he's climbing up the mountain. So I was like, well, I've got to do something here. And where he'd zapped me had messed my breathing up to where my heart was pounding. And so I, at that time, let it go as where I'd climbed that mountain, was out of breath and was resting. And I'd slipped behind this tree, was watching. Here he was coming straight up the mountain to me. So now I've got to make a move. When I made a move, I turned and looked him directly in the eyes, and it's an electrical shock went through my body, and I locked up. My knuckles locked up, elbows locked up, my knees locked up. I was dazed.
Yeah.
And so
sounds like infrasound.
Exactly. I was shocked. I call it shocked. People call it zap, but I was shocked.
Yeah.
And so in just a minute it wore off, but he kept coming. So I made the decision. My heart's beating. I'm out of breath. I went a long ways. And people that hunt with me call me Billy Goat because I hunt steep mountain terrains. And monster mountains, a mile to the top of the mountain, straight up. So I decided I'm going to go straight up. I've got, go straight up. I went straight up and I hit an old logging road that was growed up from 75 or 80 years ago. And I get up there. and I get to the top of the hill. When I get to the top of the hill, I know there's a hayfield up there because my car or vehicle is parked at the other end of this hayfield. So I make sure I get in the center of this hayfield. I'm wearing BDU forestry pants, and I unzip my first pocket and reach in and unzip my second pocket and pull my pistol out. Now I'm shooting a 22 automatic 11-shot pistol, more or less a snake killer.
Yeah.
And
At all.
I get in the center of this hayfield, and I've got 5 to 10 acres all the way around me. I think it's a 50-acre hayfield. And I know he's going to have to come out in the open if he's going to come after me. But anyway, right before I make it out off of the trail, I cross this 4-foot fence into an ATV trail at the top of the mountain. It's clear. I can see a long ways. So as I walk a few steps, I'm looking behind me to make sure he's not following me. Well, he comes up to this fence. This fence is a 4-foot wide woven wire fence with 2 strands of barbed wire a foot apart. He steps over this fence like me and you would step over a car or something in the floor. All right. Now, he's not on 2 legs. He does this on 4 legs. So he's right around 6 to 6.5 feet at the shoulder. And he just walks right across the fence.
Damn.
So he's back behind me a good 30 yards. I can see him perfectly. So I pull my pistol out and I shoot in the air, and it doesn't faze him. He keeps coming. So I get in the hayfield, get center of the hayfield. And then as I go across the hayfield, I can see my car a good football and a half foot length to my car. And I know he's going to have to cross this field if he's coming after me, but he never comes out in the field. So I get to my car, and I never lock my car, and I keep my keys. I keep a beach towel in my front seat to keep the seat from getting dirty. And under that beach towel is my keys on my right side of my thigh. So when I sit down in the car, I reach under my right side of the thigh, went to put the key in the ignition, something hits the side of my car. When I look up, there's this massive, massive human hand, but it's not human. It looks like it's human, but it's not. And it covers a good sized dinner plate on my front windshield. Well, the other paw was at my driver's window, and it comes down and it knocks my window off and breaks my driver's side view mirror window on the outside of the car. Well, by this time I'm started. I've got in the car and I've laid my pistol in the passenger seat. I know I'm gonna have to back out and turn around to come out the gate. And while I was putting it in reverse, I heard a crack, and when I looked up, my windshield started cracking. It went to a 2.5 foot crack. I knew he was going to push it in because the front of my car on my driver's side was pushing down. So I knew he was going to push this windshield in on me. And so I get turned around. He's still on the car. This time he gets up on top of my car. When I come out of the gate, I made a right-hand turn out of the hayfield, and it's about 18 to 21 miles to my house. And I drove, when I come out of there, I made a sharp turn, kicked it, hit the brakes, he come off. So I drove straight home, no detours, no nothing, straight home. And this is a state road, and it's got 35 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour, and 55 mile an hour. This is like 3 o'clock in the evening. This is the time school buses and stuff are getting out. A lot of traffic on the road. So I get home and I'm processing that. And, why he didn't try to get me in the woods or across the hayfield. And I have a mountain cur feist dog. He's a smaller dog. He's half breed. He's my yard dog. He's a great squirrel hunting dog. While I'm sitting in my house, I had done took a shower and was sitting there eating a bite to eat. And my dog, the way my driveway comes in, it comes in front of my house and goes down the side, and it's got a long driveway. The dog starts barking at the back of my house in the yard. But all of us country folk know that our dogs have got certain barks for people and certain barks for animals. Well, he had the bark of a person that was out there. I'm thinking, well, somebody pulled in and I just didn't see their headlights. And so I get up and I go to the back door where he's barking at in the yard. And when I open the back door and push the screen door open, he runs between my legs into the house. Well, this is not something he does. He's never done it. He's a scrappy little dog. And so I had my porch light on. By then it was getting dark. I had my porch light, cut my porch light on. And I still didn't see nothing. So I went and got a brighter light and shined it around and still didn't see nothing. Well, he's not an inside dog. In just a few minutes, he wanted outside. So I said, well, I'm going to put him out the front door. And that's where I was sitting in my recliner in the living room after this incident at the back door. And he wanted out. So opened the door and I walked him out there on the porch, petting him. Everything seemed fine. I went back in, sat in my recliner. In just a few minutes, he went to screaming like something was killing him. So I have a shotgun in the living room, and next to my recliner, I have a cabinet there, a shelf, and I reached over and got my shotgun shells, and I had a 20 gauge stuck behind the couch, leaning up in the corner, single shot. And I loaded the gun, walked out there to see what was attacking my dog. And when I walked out there, this was this dog man that I had seen in the woods. And now this dog man, when I had first come into the woods and first spotted him, he was up on a rock bluff and he had red eyes. And then when he jumped off of that, I went behind a poplar tree, a big poplar tree, and was looking out. When he made a wide circle, his eyes went from red to amber gold. So he followed me out to my car. I made it home. I drove straight home. The dog was acting very unusual at times, and he would calm down. He was all right. When I put him back out the front door and sat down in my recliner, he just let out a terrible scream like something was killing him. I loaded the gun, walked back out there with my flashlight, cut the porch lights on and the floodlights on the house, and there was a dog man standing in my front yard on his legs, on back legs. So I just shot the gun up in the air and it took off. Well, I thought that was the end of that. Well, I started back in the house and the dog run in the house in front of me. Again, totally out of character. Well, I sat back down in my recliner and my dog started going in each one of my rooms. And then when he got to my bedroom at the north facing window, he started making a growling noise and a whimpering noise and backing up and sitting down. And then he'd stand up, make some more whimpering noise, backing up, sitting down. And I said, well, this thing the same one I've seen in the woods. He's followed me home. So I know it wasn't the smartest thing to do, so I went back and I got my shotgun again, loaded it back, went back in the bedroom, and this time my dog is in front of a southeast eastern window doing the same thing. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to go out the back door and go around the corner of the house and see what's going on. Well, when I come around the corner of the house, this dog man was about 12 feet from me. Now I'm shooting a number 4 and 5 squirrel shot in this single shot shotgun. And so when I shine the light on him, his head is about a foot below my gutters, and his front legs, his paws, his hands was on my gutter. So I shot him in the side. He went down on all fours. He didn't make a whimper or nothing, and he took off. Well, now keep in mind the dog is still in the house, and after what seemed like 30 minutes or so, everything was fine. The dog wanted back out. So this time I put him out the back door. Didn't hear anything else the rest of the night. Well, that morning about 6:30 or 7, I didn't get any sleep that night. I had made me a pot of coffee. I walked out on the front porch, and we had a glider rocker. I sat down there and was drinking my coffee, and I heard what was coyote calls, but I knew it was him. He was imitating coyotes, had a deeper voice. So I just got up off the rocker, stepped off the porch, and walked across my garden into these set of woods. There were about 5 or 6 miles of woods there. No one's close. So it's early morning. The sun's coming up from the east, shining west. So I get behind another big tree in the shady spot, and I'm watching, and I see him in a tree. So I go back. I get my high-powered rifle, and I had bought a fresh box of shells a couple of days before that. And so I ease back down there, and I get behind another tree in the shady spot. And then he starts coming down a limb. I started shooting the limb, and then he run, and about 15 to 20 feet from the ground, he jumped, went down so far in the holler, and climbed another tree. So I sat there, and my gun was a 243, and I had a Leupold scope on it, and I just started shooting the limbs he was out on, and he come down again and jumped, and this time, when he jumped, he run down into a spring branch. Well, that spring branch had a good 50-foot open where I could see down that holler. And so I just started shooting the mud and rocks around him, and we pushed him. I kept pushing him, and we went over probably 3 or 4 ridges, and I knowed I was down to my last 3 shells. So the last ridge one went across. He was moving fast enough that he went down into another holler and was on another ridge. And of course, this was late fall. Most of the leaves had fell, so I could see him good through my scope. And then he went over a ridge, so I went up to that ridge and couldn't find him again, and never had any problems with him anymore after that.
You shot enough at him. He said, "I better stay away."
Yeah, well, you got to run them off. You don't want them at your house, you know.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of people ask
Do
me
you
why
think
did
his intention was to get in the house and harm you? Or?
No,
Yeah.
he was curious. Now here's the strangest part about this. I traveled between 18 to 21 miles an hour, 18 to 21 miles to my house. The first 5 miles when I left that place, it was dirt road, and then turned into a chip, and then come out on the main highway, and that main highway was called 111. It's a 70-mile-an-hour highway, and then I turned off of that road going down side roads to my house to get to my house the quickest route, and there was 35, 45, and 55-mile-an-hour speed zone. Keep in mind, I was coming up on buses and had to stop while they unloaded the kids. So when I get home, I'm processing all this, and just right after dark, I think it got dark around between 8 to 8:30. So a little after 9 is when this started happening. Well, after all this happened, the following day I got thinking, this should be in the newspaper, social media, or something, because I passed several cars, got behind cars, and had to stop the school buses, but this thing had traveled that far without being seen. And I'm like, well, somebody had to see it.
Yeah.
It had tracked me home. This is broad daylight.
I tell you what, the speed they can move though is unreal.
Right.
Yeah.
When I seen mine, after he left the area I was in, he crossed 300-yard field in the blink of an eye. Just a blink of an eye, boom. He was across it.
Well,
it took me and you a few minutes to get across.
Right.
5 seconds, he is across that field and gone.
Right. And in law enforcement, we were trained in radar. I was taught radar techniques in classes and certified officers in radars as I was a police officer. And they teach you several different ways to, without using a radio gun, how to determine speed. So between a tree in the woods and another tree, I counted 1001, 1002, and I divided that. Well, this particular dog man had run 38 miles an hour in the wood between two trees. Now that's fast.
Yeah.
And then
that's scary fast.
Talking to Ron, they had one that was clocked at around 58 miles an hour on the road.
About the same. Yeah.
So my next, and that particular one actually busted my windshield and tore down my driver passenger mirror.
Yeah.
And I had another one that I ultimately named Laser Eyes. I had food for that puppy. It had followed me out. I thought I was hid, and didn't. Well, the whole time I was fooling the puppy, I never seen a dog man in the woods with me that day until after I fooled with the puppy. I had walked the dry creek bed down and went down over 2 points, and I think it was 3 ridges, and the mountains are monstrous there. So I was up a third to halfway up a mountain when this one come up, and he got even with me, and I thought I was hid. Now I'm up on pretty good ways up on the hill. He raises up on 4 legs and looks right at me, and I thought I've hid. Well, he zapped me, and I got behind another tree, and I was coming up to go out of the hill because I got to get out of there. He zapped me again, and I got sick at my stomach and lost my breathing like I was having an allergic reaction. But I knew my breathing was normal, and it just took to me, it seemed like 4 or 5 minutes, but probably a couple minutes at the most. I come out of it, and then I got up into another logging road that was growed up, and I knew my vehicle was at the other end, a mile and a half. So I knew when I got to the top of the hill that there was an old homestead that was fell down, but it was growed up in saplings and briar bushes around it. So I slipped into that old house that had no windows or doors on it. I placed myself in the corner where I could watch the window in the bedroom there and the back door. So I got my gun out and I was ready for him. Birds went back to chirping. Everything went back to normal. After 30 to 45 minutes, I'm good to go. So I head out. When I come around the corner of a house, I hear a commotion in this briar thicket with these small saplings, 12-foot saplings. And there he is. And he's got bright red glowing eyes. And so I ease back into this old growed up haul road, just to the left of where the house was and the old barn that was fell down. And he stayed within 10 yards of me, walking through that while I was on the road. And every time he'd look at me, I could see on my clothes, these were laser dots. And so I got almost to where I thought I could see my car. My car was parked on this logging road off of the main road, and I had to go over a little hill to see my car. And he got real close to me. If I'd had a 3-4 foot stick in my hand, I could have reached out and touched him. No, he made no aggressive postures towards me. But when I got there, I stopped and was talking out loud. And he looked at me, and I seen these dots on my clothes. When I looked down, these laser dots were half the size of the bottom of a coffee cup. And so I get to make it to my car. It takes me 30 minutes from there to make it to my car because I'm extra careful. I walk 4 or 5 feet, and I'm talking out loud. For this thing, he keeps his distance. So right before I get to my car, he steps out in the old haul road right behind me. So I get in my car, I reach under my towel in my seat, I pull my keys out, start the car and stuff. And then he just makes a run and jumps on top of my car. So when I come out of that haul road, I made a left-hand turn and slammed my brakes on and slung him off. So I took off. Now this is a chipped red clay road, meaning chipped gravel. So from the first dog man that followed me home, I took and hit the Warriors Path in Tennessee and drove into Kentucky and made my way around to Tompkinsville, Kentucky, a town, and went into a store there and got me a cold drink, and I sat down and I smoked a cigarette outside the store there, hung around for about 30 or 45 minutes, and then I took off. And I went to, that was Tompkinsville. Then I went to Gamel, Kentucky, at the Tennessee state line, and I hung around there at another store, drank a cup of coffee, and sat there and talked to some elderly guys. And we were just talking about agriculture mostly. And then from there, I left there, come back into the state of Tennessee to Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee. And then I've got a farm there, so I went to my farm there. And then in the trunk of my car, I had a 243 high-powered rifle. I had got it out and loaded it because I didn't know what the intentions with this dog man was. So then I drove when I left there, I drove another 45 minutes towards my house was taking several different. I want to say I took 7 different roads to get back home to keep this thing from following me. So that
Bruce, let
was,
me ask you a quick question here. I've got David Stratford, he's been on our show too. He's got a question for you. It says, Bruce, do you feel with all the recent sightings that you think they are trying more and more to communicate with you?
yes, yes, yes. If you get into the Ohio sightings to where we had 10, I talked to law enforcement there and special agents with the government, which is called SAD Division. It's a Special Assignment Division through Central Intelligence Agency, which is the CIA. When the asteroid entered the atmosphere and then broke up into meteorites, a few days before that happened, these 8 Sasquatch, they were more claimed to see, but they could prove 8 Sasquatch with 10 witnesses on a migration move to the southeast. The asteroid later come in and hit the exact area they were moving from. So these things are quite smart, and
Knew it was
being
coming.
being a hunter and fisherman, before these low fronts, bad weather moves in, or thunderstorms and stuff move in, these things feed heavier days before, then they disappear. So these Sasquatch, you just don't hear that many of different sizes and not of the same clan moving like that. There's something fixing to happen. And that's a proven fact. I mean, all of us have spent a lifetime hunting and fishing. No, even fish have patterns like that. You know,
In fact, Mike Smith and Daryl had both said in the LBL that all of a sudden they would see hundreds of snakes go across a street that they were driving down. And I think you said the same thing about deer. They all just took off running straight across traffic. So there's got to be some sort of a communication or understanding, you think?
Yeah, they can read the weather pattern.
They know something.
The old people could read the weather pattern. They didn't have news to predict weather. They could tell you days in advance when we were going to have bad weather. My grandmother, my great grandmother, taught me when the leaves on the trees turn upside down, they're begging for rain.
Yeah.
So nature has its way of warning and letting us know. If we pay attention and get in tune with nature, and
when they did, it only rains too. So.
Right, and then during tornadoes and stuff, you'll have wildlife that move in big bunches. To have 8-foot wildlife or 8-foot Bigfoot seen by 10 different witnesses and documented by the sheriff's department, which wouldn't release it to the public, all moving in a certain direction, and none of these Bigfoot were the same. So that's not the clan. They were spotted different places, and these witnesses give different descriptions, but a Bigfoot is like us. No two looks the same in the face.
Could have been a family or a small clan of them moving through.
Yes, they will. These weather patterns, nut crops. When you get into, I call them nomads. They move. They're on the go. if you have a bad one place I was investigating in Pickett County, Tennessee, off the Warriors Path. We had a nut crop the year before that wasn't good, so they stayed on the river quite a bit, picking up what we call mussels and shells and stuff, and eating those. But they migrate to where it's more food. They will come back. They will come back on their migrations. We had a heavy nut crop last year. So then I had a clan that was a friendly clan that moved back into the area, and I was able to interact with them, and they are very smart. The what I call the lowland clans or the lake clans are not as aggressive as the mountain clans. So with this river clan that I had been friends with for 4 or 5 years, knew my habits, and I knew there when I walk into the woods, I make a hoot owl call, they'll answer me back, I know they're there. And so we'll meet down in a creek bottom next to a spring, and I've had the females who are the leaders of the pack who will come up and approach me, and I got to be friends, especially good friends, with one of the females, and she was the leader of the pack. She keeps the big males and everybody back. And to show their intelligence, I had come down the creek after they answered my calls. They showed themselves. I sat down on the rock, and the female come up, and she sat down on the rock close to 8 to 10 feet from me. And they gibber like a tree frog. And if you ever heard a tree frog at night make those noises, they can mock anything in the woods. So as I'm sitting there, she does know English words, and she would say, "Help, help." I couldn't see anything. Yeah.
Was that really?
And so I couldn't see anything wrong with her. So she would make hand gestures, and one of her hand gestures was she went to her mouth a couple times. And I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. Well, after about that 45-minute encounter sitting there with her, she kept the big males at bay. They wanted to argue. They didn't want her down there close to me. And then she would put them in their place and just really get vocal. And when she got up to leave, they all followed behind her. So I dropped in behind them, and they took me to a cave system. And when I got to the cave system, they had already gone in the cave system. But another voice, I'm assuming was a male, when I got to the cave system, said, "No, no, no." I went, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to go in. So I left there and headed home. I had passed a man on Highway 25 in Carthage, Tennessee, selling pecans out of the back of his truck. So I get home, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, maybe they were hungry. I don't know. I just didn't have a clue. So the more I thought about it, I just, for some reason, got in my truck. I drove down there to the guy's stand, and I bought 4 big bags of pecans. And I went up there, and it was right at dark when I got to the cave system. They went in, and as I was setting the pecan bags down there, another deep voice said, "Thank you, thank you." And they kept saying thank you till I walked out of sight, out of my ear range, like they were just thanking me. And so those were river clams that are not aggressive. The males from the mountain clans, that's a whole different story. The rogue Bigfoot, he is a male that gets pushed out of the clan. I don't know where he challenged the female and he got ostracized or what the deal is. They're more aggressive than a dog man is.
Kidding.
And,
That's what I hear.
yeah. So the most dangerous thing you can do is run against the rogue Bigfoot. Your chances of survival are very slim.
Yeah. I wouldn't mess with either one of them.
No.
Yeah.
Jeez.
well,
I'm reconsidering wanting to see one now.
Yeah. Well,
but,
I've seen a dog man, but not a Bigfoot. I've seen tracks and found a little evidence, but never seen one yet. Don't know if I want to.
well, a Bigfoot, the Bigfoots, you've got different kinds of Bigfoots, just like you have humans. We all
there's
are
good and bad
humans.
and everything. So
Right. And there's different facial features. You will come across some that's massive, 8, 9, 9.5, 10 feet tall, that'll have a human face. They don't have the gorilla face and stuff that society wants us to think they have.
Yeah.
They have a human face. And by that human face, it makes you deer hunters. I've got a couple deer hunters, or more than a couple, say when they got ready to shoot it, they just couldn't shoot it because they didn't know if it was one of their buddies or somebody, right, in a gorilla suit. You know, it was just too human. Of course, my grandmother, my grandmother's a full-blooded Cherokee. They called them the hairy men.
Yeah.
They were tribes. They were tribes just like they were. And so when you get into all these laser eyes, could be paranormal. Again, it could be energy, matter.
Different variances.
Right. So I'm 70% that laser eyes is paranormal. And then you get into the extraterrestrial ones that are walk through a porthole in front of you. Most of them are wearing a leather suit with spikes on them, but they have no shoes or gloves on. And they're not sociable enough. They don't hang around. Then you get into my first encounter when I was 8 years old. That was 56 years ago. Me and my father watched Wild Kingdom all the time and watched gorillas, apes. And he was in the military, so we would take our vacations here in Tennessee on my grandparents' farm. And of course, Daddy had a farm here too. And we'd come in once a year. And I'd went to my grandmother's, and Daddy had bought me a kite. And I'd put this little kite together, had me a big roller string. And I went out in the field there behind my grandmother's house, which is a hay field. And the hay had been recently cut for the spring cut. And I couldn't get my kite in there. Tried and tried and tried. Well, these 3 gorillas walked out of the creek up in the hayfield watching me. But then they wasn't watching me, they was watching the kite.
Oh.
So after running with that kite several times and give out, I went in and told my grandmother, I said, listen, I can't get my kite in there. She said, you're going to have a tail on it. So she got an old sheet, cut me 3 long tails off of it, tied knots in it, tied it onto my kite and tied knots, and hooked the other 2 pieces to it, and I said, Grandma, I said, there's them 3 apes out there watching me. I said, honey, we don't have apes in Tennessee. I said, well, gorillas. No, we don't have gorillas in Tennessee. Well, I went back out there, and this time, my third attempt, the kite went way out. It went to the end of my string roll, so I was bringing it back in, and they had come back out and was watching it. They were more interested in the kite, and so was I. You know, the Wild Kingdom said, don't look a gorilla in the eye and don't approach them. They won't bother you. So I bring my kite in. I go back in and tell my grandma. They come back up there and watch me fly my kite. And they're gorillas. And she was like, no, they're not gorillas in Tennessee. And I was like, well, I didn't look them in the eye. Everything Wild Kingdom said. And a week or so later, she wanted me to go to my great-grandmother's, who was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. And she said, I'd been outside talking to my grandfather. He had no cane-back chair. He's sitting there whittling. And I went out there and was talking to him. He called me boy. And was talking to him. My great-grandmother calls me in. And she said to me, she didn't believe in electricity. They cooked on a wood cook stove. Had candles and kerosene lanterns, I call them. And she said, sit down there at the table. And she fixed me some strawberry preserves and homemade cat head biscuits. And we sat at the table. She said, I've been told that you've been seeing gorillas. And I said, yeah. She said, them's not gorillas, them's hairy men. I said, hairy men? She said, yeah, you know, being 8 years old, I wasn't buying into the story. Then she told me about her father and her grandfather, Cherokee Indian, that they had went out on a hunt and killed some deer, some elk, and brought it back in and hung them up on lodge poles. And that they always left 2 of the clans there to guard the meat because that was their source of living. That, I mean, you had to have that. Well, that sometime during the night, the 2 clansmen got killed and the meat was taken. So they put together a little hunting party the next morning and went back in to the mountains of East Tennessee, the Appalachian Mountains, and got into a fight with the hairy men, which they were able to kill some of the hairy men, but the hairy men killed 2 more members of the tribe and they retrieved part of the meat back. And later on, I found out hairy men was Sasquatch. That was just what the Indians called them. They were just big people covered in hair. And
I need to introduce you to a friend of ours. He's been on a couple times actually. Ernie Devereaux, and he's the one. Oh yeah, I'll have to introduce you to him because he has actually seen them use sign language. So and I think he did say something about speaking some sort of an English or translation type thing. So that's exactly what you're saying. That's crazy.
They have they can speak English since they've heard us talk, but they know more Cherokee language in this part of the country, and so they're real into that. Now the mountain ones when I get into the Appalachian Mountains up there, they're a little bit harder to deal with. They're not sociable. The ones down here on the Cumberland Plateau and around the rivers are a lot more sociable. I had one who's a female of 8. She was the boss. She used what I call seashells, which is river mussels and snails, and decorating. So you got to think, I mean, these things are more human than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Daryl actually befriended a family there somewhere along the Cumberland River. He had a clan of Bigfoots that he communicated with, and he said they almost became like family. He was seen them every other day or every day when he could, and he said, "Yeah, they're a lot more human than you give them credit." Daryl
They
Denton,
become your
I'm sure you
family
know
because
him,
they.
Bruce.
Oh yeah, me and Daryl does conferences together in town hall meeting.
I like Daryl.
Daryl's a good guy. Ron Moorhead's a good guy. Martin
we're gonna try to
Grove,
get him
all them boys.
Oh yeah,
Martin's a good one.
We're friends with all of them. We're like a big community, a family, you know.
Yeah,
we all share the same love of cryptids, and it's just an awesome group of people that you get to know.
Oh yeah. I'm very knowledgeable. I tell people all the time, if you go out there for your first time and you're hunting a Bigfoot, you're not going to find the Bigfoot, and it's too dangerous. You go into the woods and let them find you, and that's the way I do it. In the same way with Dogman, I have tendonitis of the ears. I'm putting out a frequency. They're drawn to me. And then, of course, the rogue Bigfoot. Well, one encounter with a rogue Bigfoot is we had up in Buffalo Valley, Tennessee. We had a school bus and a school bus driver. There's the school bus kids on there, and the school bus driver keeps seeing a bear across the road with a cub at about 6:20 to 6:30 every morning. And they were going back to the school and talking about it. And then so the principal got a hold of the superintendent of the schools. Well, his name was Walter Shanks. He knew me well. We lived in the same area. We bartered. We got tobacco in. I'd help him. He'd help me. I hunted his land. And we were just good old neighbors, you know. So he gives me a holler and says, "I need to talk to you, Bruce." So I go up and we sit down and talk, and he tells me, "I got a bus driver and kids that's seeing this bear across this road, and it's just within 2 miles of your farm," which Mr. Shanks was probably another 2 miles below the road from me. He asked me would I look into it. So I said, "Yeah, I'll look into it." So the landowner where they were seeing him was a guy named George. He was the Edgar Evans State Park Ranger at Center Hill. He had a farm there, actually 2 farms, and he had moved his cattle down to next to my farm because he had 2 of them come up dead. Couldn't explain why they were dead. So I went to him and told him, I said, "Listen, I'm going to do a hunt tonight up there, and he wants to go and see, a bear, because there wasn't any bear seen in that country in 100 years. And that's, he wanted to see a bear. And I had a Johnny Walker game collar with cotton squills, dying rabbit calls, the whole 9 yards. And so his brother-in-law worked for Ford Motor Company, and he lived right down from us. And he drove to Nashville every day, the Ford Motor Company, and he kept brand new Ford trucks. About every 2 years, he'd get a new Ford truck. He tells him about us going up there. Well, he said, "If y'all want to go up there and do that, take my new 4-wheel drive truck, because you can drive up through the barn yard and you can get in and out good." So his son decides he wants to go. Can y'all hear me fine?
Yeah, we're still getting you.
Okay. And so his son, he's about 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. He wants to go with us. So that tickled me and George because we ain't got to drive this brand new Ford truck and be responsible for it.
Yeah.
So we get our guns together. We get our guns together and we get us a quilt. And we drive up there and we drive through the barnyard and we back in of the above the barn where we can see a field. We've got two extremely high mountains on each side of this field. So we laid the quilt up on the cab of the truck, keep from scratching it. We laid our guns up there. We had a couple 22s rifles and a couple of high-powered rifles. And I got the Johnny Walker Game Squatter. So I've got a spotlight. So the young boy comes with us. We let him drive his daddy's truck because we ain't going to be responsible for getting it scratched or anything.
Exactly.
So we tell him we hand the cord. we hand the spotlight cord through the driver's side. Told him plug it in that cigarette lighter, and whatever he does, don't let us pull it out. You know. So we cut the game collar on. We're getting a little action right there at the back of the barn. We can, got enough moonlight. It's in January. It's busting cold. I think it was 17 degrees that night. And I reach over and George has got the light. Reach over and nudge George, and I reached and got the 22 rifle. And there was a couple coyotes there. Well, we can sell coyote fur. And so we were there to call a bear, but we knew we couldn't shoot and kill a bear. All we could do was carry it off. And this, as I'm getting ready to shoot the first coyote, we hear this god-awful scream coming off this hill, off this mountain. We hear tree branches breaking. I mean, it's just horrendous. I nudged George and I said, hold up. I mean, I'm not going to shoot. Hold up. Keep that spotlight across that field. He's coming down off this mountain point. Well, whatever it is, we want to see what it is. If it's a bear, it's going to be the biggest one we've ever seen in our life or heard. So none of us actually seen a bear in real life, except for up there at North Carolina when they had them in the cages on the Indian reservation. And we'd seen them on TV. So this thing comes out in the field, and it's the biggest, hairiest man, and he is pissed off. He is screaming, jumping up and down. Well, I reach back and I get my 243. He's shooting a 30-06. I get my 243. We get the light back up, and we're fixing to take a shot, and this thing lets out a scream, and it just jars us. I mean, it's just like you've been hit instantly with a taser and jars it. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll just hold up a minute and see what's going to happen. Well, this thing takes off running toward us, and he is pissed. And he gets off a good 15 feet from the truck, or 15 yards. We know we can't get out of the back of the truck and get in the truck without this thing getting us. This is a monster. So we raise up again, and we're going to take the shot. We have no other choice. We're going to get killed, or we're going to have to try to kill this thing. Well, just yards behind the truck, this thing stops and lets out this scream, but it's so low bellered it sounds like a 2,000-pound bull, and it just locks our muscles up. We can't pull the trigger. Well, the young boy driving his daddy's truck, unbeknownst to us, is these big side mirrors, and he could see it off our spotlight. Well, he just drives off. We're still locked up.
I was going to say, without you guys?
Well, we're in the bed of the truck.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah. We're in the
They're
bed of
sliding
the truck.
around.
He's inside the truck keeping the spotlight. Yeah. keeping the spotlight plugged into the cigarette lighter. Well, he takes off, and it throws me and George against the tailgate. We come out of that daze where it zapped us or whatever. I'm going over the tailgate. George catches me, pulls me back in. We go through the barn parking lot, come out through the gates, make a left going down the road. We're going, it's a gravel road back then. We're 30 mile an hour. And this thing is screaming, and he's running us. So in the bed of the truck, I had an old coon light that hooks on the battery, hooks on your belt, and the lamp goes on your head. So I cut it on and it's shining, and he's gaining. This is a monster's hairy man. He's gaining. And so we go around the curve, and what we thought was braided hair was matted hair. And the kid gets up to about 40 or 45 miles an hour. Now we're on a dirt road. This truck is weaving everywhere. We're thinking we're going to crash. And it starts fading out. It's still screaming as fading out. Well, we get to this boy's house, which is another quarter mile to a half a mile from where we lost this Bigfoot at. And we pull in the driveway. The boy jumps out of the truck with the truck still running and runs in the house. The daddy comes out, and his brother-in-law and me are telling him what we just seen. Well, the mama comes out of the house screaming there's something wrong with her son. So here we take off into the house, and he's in shock. He can't talk. He's spluttering, stuttering so bad you just can't understand him. So we're talking to him, trying to get him to calm down. And she makes us all hot chocolate. And it's home style hot chocolate, not the store bought, the real good stuff. So we're sitting there drinking that, and he starts coming down a little bit, but he's still not fully sensible. He's still whacked out. And we said, "What made you take off like that? You put us in danger." And he was like, "When I seen it through them rear view mirrors, I'm getting out of there." He said, "So I took off." And he said, and I said, "What caused you to bail out of the truck in the driveway with a truck?" The truck was actually still in gear, running. We had to stop the truck.
Jeez.
So he was like, "It's coming to the house. It's going to kill every one of us. It's coming." And so we talked to him for a few more hours, got him calmed down. And then I looked at the landowner, which is George Shanks. He was a park ranger for Edgar Evans State Park. And I said, "Hey, we're going to have to go find her guns." And I think some of them fell off up there when we come through the barnyard. He said, "If you go, you're going by yourself. I ain't going back." So talked to him a few more hours. By then it's 7:30 in the daytime. It's been daylight for a little bit. And I say, "Let's go in there and look in the truck bed." We went to look at the truck bed. We found 2 of her guns. We're missing 2. So I talked him into going back up with me. Of course, he's dressed up like Rambo. He's got so many guns and stuff hanging on him. It's not funny. You're
going to try to run with all that weight.
Right. So we get up there, and we find one of her guns in the road with a busted stock. Just as we come out of the barnyard and turned on this gravel road, the stock busted when it hit the ground. Well, we found the other gun in the barn lot. It's just scratched up. No big deal. Well, we're walking around there and we're looking to make sure we didn't drop anything else. And we find these massive, massive footprints. So I'm wearing a 9.5 or 10 shoe. So sideways of the track, I lay my boot in the sideways of the track, and I'm still 1.5 inches being big enough of the track sideways. So I put my boot against the heel of this track, and my right boot I put to the toe of my left boot, long ways in the track, and I'm still liking another 1.5 to 2 inches. So this is a 21, 22-inch track.
Jeez.
So we
Huge.
get over that little spell, and then we have like I said, I have my encounters with Dog Man. And, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was
Did
talking
y'all-
to my son.
Yeah.
He came out in the barn.
Sorry.
Oh,
No
so
problem.
that's okay. And then we had another Bigfoot experience to where I was 12 years old and I was down on the lake and fishing. And my parents was on the other side of the lake, and it backs up into a cove. Well, I seen these three gorillas come back out in the mud there and watching us. So I was like, well, they went back in the woods and stuff. My parents seen them and told me don't go over there. Well, they went back in the woods, and I said, can I go over there? So, yeah, so I walked over.
Oh, it's Larry. He's talking to his son still.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's no problem. So I walked around.
Needed the key to the truck so she could go to the store.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I walked.
So I walked around the cove and back all the way around to where they was at. Well, we were catching bluegill and little bass, and this ape walks out, but he's smaller than the rest of them. So I'm catching these bluegill and dropping them on the bank. And I noticed whenever one I'd catch, he'd see me, he'd watch me drop it on the bank. So just out of curiosity, my grandmother always said, if you run across these things, because that hairy man thing was still in my head. I wasn't totally a believer, but it was still in my head. So I picked up one of the bluegill, and I just, what a 12-year-old can throw underhanded, just a few feet out, maybe 20 feet. It walks down to me, and
sorry, go ahead.
It walks down to me and bends down and picks this bluegill up, then turns around and walks into the cattails back in the woods, and that was the last time I seen him. So,
yeah, they like fish.
Yeah.
They have pretty good diet there. They eat a lot of things. And I think, like you said, a lot of the sightings occur because they migrate where their food sources go.
Yes, they have to, yeah.
They might get tired of eating deer, so they go north or something and get some salmon or,
right.
certain fish that they want. And like you were talking about the nut crop earlier, that nut crop affects not only them, but all the other wildlife and that their food sources. So when there's a bad year for mast, they have to go somewhere else to find food. So.
Yeah, and that's where you get people out in the country get their trash cans and stuff tore up, and they can't figure out why a coon couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It's too big of a trash can.
Yeah.
If
they move, there's going to be more sightings. So
Yeah. And we got all these developers that come into Tennessee buying these huge tracts of these farms up and developing them, and it's pushing them in more congregated areas to where you have more sightings.
Yeah.
And it's not a good
in
thing.
certain parts of Indiana, they're starting to have sightings in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Rural area, but they got suburb housing in there, and we're slowly depleting their habitat, and we're going to see more and more of them.
Yeah, I live in Cookeville, Tennessee here, and I got a camera outside my home here. And when the trash is set out in them big old trash cans that got wheels on them,
yeah,
you get foxes, coyotes, We've had a bear walk down through here and get in a trash can. And it's all on camera.
Yeah.
And it's no different from a Bigfoot. I mean, when the food's bad, they can't get it in the woods and stuff. They've realized it's easier to get in dumpsters and trash cans. You know, they're animals. I mean, it's just we would probably do the same thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, their caloric intake has got to be the calories that they need to function. It's got to be through the roof. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going through 5 or 6 dumpsters just to
right,
keep fed.
right. But then
now, when you were a police, were you ever called out to somebody's place because they've had a sighting, or is that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, we got called out to a place to where this elderly woman thought somebody was breaking in on her, and she had good reason to believe that. I mean, it messed with her doorknobs. She had a back porch that was screened in with a screen door before you went into the main door, and on the back porch, all the screen got tore down. And back then, the houses had high ceilings. Well, in her bathroom was a short window, probably a foot wide and maybe 3 foot long. And they thought there was people just trying to break in on her. And she lived off. You went through her gate, and the house at a quarter of miles back in the woods. There were no close neighbors. So we get those calls, and and it wound up being a Bigfoot. And she had went into the bathroom and was sitting on the commode, and the windows in front of her above the door back years ago, your vents and your windows were above the doors and stuff. They weren't like the central is now, coming up through the floor. Air flowed. Back then they didn't have central, but they had windows above each door that let air flow through. And then, you're talking about from her back porch up to that window, you're talking about 11 foot tall, and nothing on the back porch for what she calls an ape to stand in. And it was a Bigfoot. He left his impression on the window, and when we got there it was, So you got the big prints. It was 2 days after a heavy rain. The prints were there. We've had them hit with cars and have to go out and work the accident scenes, only to have agents show up and take over the scene. And then I'll give you one in particular. We had one that was hit by a man, and he hit him with a right front fender of his car, and it broke its legs and knocked it through a barbed wire fence. Well, he actually thought he hit somebody. And when we got there, there was a Bigfoot, and he was laying in a cow pasture, knocked through the fence with his legs. One leg was broke below the knee, and the other was broke just at the knee or slightly above it. And it was making these weird sounds, and we debated where to put it down or not. Well, then, this is radio traffic going on the radio, so we get a call to hold up and stay at the scene, secure the scene. And these people get there. They're driving a black unmarked Crown Vic like I'm driving, 2 of them, and then they come in a big, long black SUV that is a 4-wheel drive SUV, but it's as long as a hearse. And they show us their Eagle badges, and say, we're taking over the scene from here. So they loaded this thing up on a gurney and strapped it down and put it in the back of this SUV. And the driver that hit the car, they took him, and then a record company we had never seen in this part of Middle Tennessee shows up and gets the car. our incident reports. When we get out to the scenes, we have to do incident and accident reports. All those come up missing out of the department.
How do you write a report like that? I mean, obviously they send you out there knowing that there might be a Sasquatch, and how you're going to put that into a field report.
Well, when you get out there, you don't know it's a Sasquatch because people think they hit somebody, and they call it in. And when you get there and find out that it is a Sasquatch, then there's protocols you have to go by. It's secrecy. And so we have numbers where we call in, and then a lot of the decision is made up to us on the scene until they get there. Well, when they get there, then they take over the scene, which is fine with us because we ain't got to get into all that, you know.
All yours, thank you.
You know.
Jeez.
That's about like that ranger we were talking about. He wrote out in his report what he seen and thought.
Yeah.
And they said, no, this is what you seen. This is what happened in the story.
Right. That gets filed. We filed our incident and accident reports with the state, and then the state takes that, and then they take that, and that goes to a paper shredder, and then the evidence, they'll send a NCI team out there that's far more advanced than what they show on TV and stuff. It's not. They take their samples. They prefer the hair samples. I've got to work 2 cryptids along with the federal agents and under Homeland Security, and they prefer the hair samples. They do take blood samples. They do take flesh samples, but they prefer the hair sample.
What would you do with it if you had to euthanize it? Would you take it to a place cremation or just?
No, that would be once I euthanize it. We euthanized it like that. Generally, the feds are already on their way. You know?
Okay.
And you
so
never
they take
know
care of the body.
Yes, you never know what you're going to get. The U.S. Coast Guard could pull up on you on it. You never know what agency you're going to get. So it's top secret.
Yeah.
So I got to work with a couple of the top secret agencies called SAD, which is Special Assignment Division of the Central Intelligence Agency, which is CIA. And I've got to do some things with them. And we uncovered some incredible stuff. And it's classified. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I've seen podcasts not long ago where I think it was Joe Barger shot one.
Yeah,
Dog man.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an extraterrestrial. All he would have had on was a leather jacket, and he was probably escaped. They are tracked. Generally in North National Forest or swampy areas that belong to the state and federal government. I believe that he was trying to get away, and he got shot.
Joe Barger was driving on a highway that ran through the Manistee National Forest.
Right,
so
right.
That explained it.
Yeah, he was probably just trying. So he wasn't probably trying to hurt Joe. He was trying to get away from the ones that was chasing him, meaning our government. But, you know, you can't blame Joe for shooting him for seeing something like that, trying to get in his truck.
I'd have thought it was going to harm me.
Right.
You know, that'd be the only way I'd shoot one, self-defense.
Joe went up.
When I had my encounter, I was deer hunting. I was 25 feet up in the tree. I had a 12-gauge shotgun with slugs and a rifle barrel and a scope and a sidearm, a 45 I always carried.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could have killed the thing, but I was too scared to even think about it.
Right. Well, in Joe's incident, when he shot it, and then went up and turned around and come back. A black
Yeah.
Jeep, which is the tracker trying to track them to retrieve them, did not see the damage on the other side of Joe's truck. Because you got to keep in mind, the damage was on the passenger side. When he went up and turned around 5 or 10 minutes later and come back down, the damage was on the opposite side of the truck where these agents couldn't see it. So he approached them like, "Can I help y'all?" He didn't tell them what
he
he
even
seen.
said that they said you killed our asset.
Yeah, after 3 or 4 years, he come out on a podcast talking about it. Then they went after him, but he had hid the gun he actually shot the dog man with, and they only got the rifle. Had they had got that pistol, it'd been a whole lot different story, outcome for him.
Yeah.
So you have to.
I think more and more it's going to start coming out. I mean, you can't hide most of this stuff anymore. You know what I mean? It's people have caught on the TV shows and movies and everything.
Right.
I think people know pretty well, you know, that they're out there. I get crap for it all the time. They're like, "What are you doing?" Podcast and, you know, cryptozoology. And they're like, "What's that?" So, but I think
they at one time they tried to use the national parks and state forest as a place to contain them, keep them hid, and they can't control them.
Well, if you put,
might as well put it in a school. It's like,
well, if you put it on private property, there's a liability. But if you put it in federal, state, and government, all state takes federal government money, so federal government's got to run the park or the state park or the federal park. And
it's easier to cover up if it happens there.
Right. You can send a few helicopters in and retrieve it pretty quick. They drive around in these vehicles. They got trackers on them. They put them out to see how they do, and some do escape, and then it's easier to retrieve them. Their assets, what they mean by asset, is not something a dog man they have trained to make a super soldier. It's an extraterrestrial. It's from another world.
I had just heard that today about I think it was Tom Franklin's podcast, and Jody Cook had actually said that one of the ones that he had seen was ET, basically. And it was just
extraterrestrial,
yeah, and they said it was just the head that was wolf looking. But I figured interdimensional, but I didn't think about basically coming down in spaceships. But that would make sense because there's a lot of orbs and UFOs, UAPs after somebody's had an encounter. So that's pretty. That's pretty.
I also believe there's a type of dog man that's always existed.
Yeah. Sonically
here
on Earth.
Well, the dog man, flesh and blood, has always existed. The Egyptians and plumb on till now.
Anubis, the Greeks talked about them.
The depictions even of Indian artifacts, lithographs, even with a Bigfoot. But I've been told. I got to watch how I say it. I've been told by SAD, Special Assignment Division, there's 3 different types. I've only encountered 2. I've encountered the flesh and blood, which nothing really is flesh and blood because we're all made up of energy and matter. And then the extraterrestrial, and then the paranormal. But I haven't encountered a paranormal except for laser eyes, and I'm not 70. I'm 70%. He's a paranormal, but I'm not 100% there.
Yeah, and that's a big division in this community. It's
Yeah.
it's almost ridiculous. And if you were to try to explain it to somebody, they would just right over their head. They wouldn't know.
Right.
Jeez. Yeah.
Extraterrestrials, logically thinking, the 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 government recovered them in alien space crashes. They're able to do extraordinary things. They track them. These things are just like anything else. They want to get away. They want to go home.
Yeah.
We're trying to make super soldiers out of them, and we've learned a lot from them by the way they do. But a lot of times when you come across an extraterrestrial, it's not going to be blood gory and devilish and stuff. But the average person sees one running his vehicle, like Mr. Joe jumps in. At any time, I believe he could have went through the window and killed Mr. Joe. But at the same time, he has a right to shoot because he was scared. He didn't know what he was dealing with.
Yeah. Well, and he's at work too, so it's kind of one of
Right.
those things where it just detour you or whatnot. But he had a heavy load. He was hauling too.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then for them
Go
to
bad. They
for
can go
him to
bad real quick.
him to shoot it and go back and it's not there, but you got a black special ops
Yeah.
Jeep there with a woman
Yeah.
holding something to believe to be. You would know if it was a cell phone, so it's a box, so it's a tracking device, and then when he talks about it on the podcast 3 or 4 years later, his truck was raided. They didn't find the gun that killed the asset, they called it, extraterrestrial. They found the rifle. Had they had found the pistol, it'd probably been a whole different story.
Oh, yeah. They'll nail you for that
Right.
easy, especially if you're in a work truck too. That's a liability.
Yeah.
Not that you're gonna ever run into a dog man chasing the side of your truck.
Right.
But, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
David asked a question. It was, do you think they covered up? Is it fear or panic? Or cover,
In
I think
fear
he
of the
said.
panic.
Yeah.
I don't think they cover up the fear as a panic.
Yeah.
I think it's a top secret operation. It's what the public can handle. It goes against a lot of religious beliefs.
Yeah.
So you would have a mess right
Be
now.
chaos.
Right. You got to gradually introduce it to the public in a way to not terrify everybody and make them think they're being invaded or the devil's coming after them or stuff like that. These things are the ones I've dealt with have been more, they've been flesh and blood, except for laser eyes. But no aggression whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to say if I don't back one in the corner tomorrow, it won't tear my head off, but it's just, you just got to be vigilant.
Just like a rogue Bigfoot, I think there's nomad, and I think dogmen run in packs because you hear so many encounters that
in 56
if there's
years,
one, there's another one around.
Yeah, in 56 years, I've only come across 2 different packs of dogmen, and that was 4 that I knew of. The rest of the time, they've been loners. The female dogman I come into is obvious she had pups, so I know they're interacting. They're mating.
We've talked with the guy that's seen a couple, and he said one he seen, it had red eyes, and he said you could tell it's possessed. It's like a demon. He said there ain't no doubt in his mind it would have harmed him. The other
Well,
one, not so
actually,
much.
that is kind of a thing, and I've heard the red eyes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's demonic or something like
Yeah.
that. The- Yeah, the
Exactly,
red
because
eyes can just be the reflection of a certain light through them. So, but it's
uh,
mostly it's never been proven that
well,
it.
if they can harness their energy and stuff, they can change that
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, he
yeah,
We're
said he just
dealing with
picked up a vibe that it was gonna, you know,
right,
I don't want to be around this one. It's gonna hurt.
yeah,
right.
yeah,
I, I,
yeah,
I, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather run into a dog man than a rogue Bigfoot any day. A
yeah.
rogue,
Yeah.
a rogue Bigfoot. If you don't have any way to escape, you're going to be
Game
dead
on.
and
Yeah.
probably eaten. If you run into a Gugway, it's a guarantee. Gugway
Oh
looks
yeah,
just like a Bigfoot, but he's just got a double row of teeth and they're all messed up.
yeah.
Yeah, they're mean.
Yeah,
That's Nephilim. They've got the extra teeth. They've got the
yeah,
extra hand, the finger, the
yeah.
toes, everything.
The 6 toes, 6 fingers. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever come in contact with a Gugway or
Oh yeah, yeah,
into? Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez.
It's not something you want to ever happen to you.
Yeah.
The most scariest thing I've ever dealt with was a crawler. Some people call them
Oh,
rakes.
Meant
You
to
know,
ask you about that. I heard that on the podcast with Ron and Daryl. I meant to ask you about the rate.
the rake is generally about 5 foot tall. Some of them are a little over 4. Generally about 5 foot tall. They're very supernatural, I call it.
Yeah.
They have a glowing white to them. They're so quick that if you blink your eye, if one goes up a tree and you blink your eye, you've lost him. Only
Yeah.
thing you can do is use what I call a blue fluorescent light, and you can see where he slimed the tree and be able
Oh,
to find him.
yeah, I've
So
heard
yeah,
the slime part.
yeah,
they get that echolocation, that ticking or how do I say it?
Clicking and ticking.
Clicking.
it's a.
Yeah.
When you were kids, they had these little clickers, little
Yeah.
plastic clickers. That's what he sounds like. He sits there,
Yeah.
click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click, click, click. Yeah,
That's crazy.
and that's how you spot them is by that clicking noise. If you sit down and be real still and be on full alert, it's best to have at least 2 to 3 people where you can all back up to each other's backs,
Yeah.
and that way he can't slip in on you without you knowing it. But he
Yeah.
is fast. I mean, I've seen him go up a tree. You blink your eye and they're gone. You know, and if you
Do you
got that
think they're
blue,
cryptids?
I think they're supernatural.
Supernatural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're supernatural.
Yeah. Have you ever run into a mimic?
No, I haven't run into a
No.
mimic. And what do you mean by mimic? Because I may have and didn't know it.
Oh yeah. Well, I know they're in East Tennessee too. So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Is that they'll call from a wood line and make it sound like your spouse. However, it's not your spouse. He's out of town, and you hear help in your husband's voice, your wife's voice, and you go out there, and then you get lost. So,
They
but I've
lure
heard
you. Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot.
I've had that happen with Bigfoot.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah.
Yes, me and the guy was hunting a 1,200 acre farm, coon hunting. We had brought some dogs out and we were training some dogs. And this elderly man had 1,200 acres and he wasn't able to hunt or anything. But he liked coon meat. He liked barbecue coon. He'd barbecue them. So
Gosh.
so we agreed to, we'll hunt, we keep the hide, you can have the meat. And he was all for it. Well, we get way back in there now. Keep in mind the closest house is about 2.5, 3 miles from us, and it's his house.
Jeez.
Well, a buddy of mine we had the dogs up there, and he comes over to me and he said, Bruce, he said, you don't hear somebody talking on the hill there. And I sort of, pushed it off and said, listen, we're the only ones back there. Ain't nobody in the miles of us. He's like, no, man. He said, there's somebody up there talking. And, well, we heard a talk, and then he said, Bruce, did you hear that? And that up on the mountain come back and said, Bruce, did you hear that?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jeez. It's just a little bit off from the natural sound. I noticed that. It's, they sound like owls, but it's a different like octave or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. But jeez. Yeah.
I do an owl call when I'm in the woods to meet some of the friendly ones, and then they'll answer me back. And I'll do a whoo, 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 and then I'll get that. They know it's me.
Yeah.
And then, but when you get into a set of woods, owls run in pairs. It's very uncommon to have 10 or 12 owls in one holler calling.
Really?
I've never heard of that. And we got into a situation where we had 12 owls calling, and they're territorial. They pair up, know, and they're pair territorial. They don't just let that many owls in their neck of the woods.
I hunt a lot. You might hear 2 at one time in the same woods, but not that many.
No, you won't hear 12 at one time. Yeah. So you get into Bigfoot mimicking. A Bigfoot's the best mimicking. A dog man can mimic a coyote and a house yard dog. So you really have to pay attention in the woods. When you're deep in the woods and there's a chance, but not possible for a tame dog to be back in there. And all of a sudden you have a dog man encounter, and in a few minutes you get a barking dog call in the same direction. Yeah. And then when you go there, there's no dog there. There's no houses close.
Yeah.
So they will mimic about anything in the woods.
Jeez.
So, that's scary.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to control a dog here. Attacking
I was in back last September. I was in September 25, 15th September. I was on an extremely big mountainside working my way down into a holler. It takes about 2.5 hours to get back out of it. And I kept getting these hoot owl calls constantly. And so I eased down where I can take a set of binoculars and watch. And then what I found was 3 Bigfoots were talking to each other in hoot owl calls. I got to see them. And,
it's crazy. Well, you've had a lot of sightings and encounters. Well, I'll take one last question here. During owl mating season, we hear 2 calling back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Does that sound right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get real vocal, the males especially. If there's that's a lot of times is how the female is the head of the pack, and if the older male in the bunch and the younger male that's come up to pretty good size to challenge the older male, they'll get real vocal, and generally the female will push the younger male out, and he becomes rogue. He's pissed at everything for a couple of years till he gets settled down.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, are you speaking at any conferences coming up?
I spoke here the other day at Susie Masters Mayhew Masters General Store in Hillham, Tennessee. Me and Daryl Denton and so we I'm probably fixing to think about writing a few books, maybe put a few T-shirts out. And,
Go.
Yeah, you should, Bruce.
Definitely. I need to do that too. I
Like
just
writing
don't
a
have the
book would be a
time.
good idea.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, we got to look into that, Larry. So
some of the
Yeah.
biggest names in the
Yeah.
industry are
Yeah.
wanting me to do it, so I've
Yeah.
turned
Yeah.
down I've turned down a couple TV shows and stuff, but
Yeah. TV's rough though.
yeah,
TV is kind of drags out all day for a 15-minute scene. So,
right,
yeah.
right.
So I've written screenplays and stuff like that too since I'm in California. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's
If you can
definitely
get on
different.
something like Monster Quest and it
Yeah.
gets your
Right.
name out there more,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I don't know how and why, but my name has took off in the last year or so, and
Good.
most of
oh
those
yeah,
guys
yeah,
are contacting me anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. Yeah.
but,
Well, Bruce, would you come back sometime again here?
oh, love to. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to have you
We'll have a
back.
part two because I know you got a lot more to share.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I've
And
got several. I've
that is
got
awesome.
several more
We,
radio shows and podcasts coming up. But yeah, I'll be glad
Yeah,
to jump back
yeah.
on with y'all again. And
yeah.
Perfect.
That
That would be
people,
awesome. All
the
right.
more you
Well,
do, get your name out there to,
once
you
you get
know,
your name,
it'll help monetizing, get you some books going, like you said, and some shirts.
yeah.
Be good.
Only reason why I'm gonna do the book is because I've been asked by 1,500
Yeah.
people to do a book. I don't plan
Yeah.
on making any money on them. I've got a bunch of
Well,
people that's wanting me to make Dogman T-shirts. I
yeah.
don't plan
Yeah.
on making any money. It's just to
Yeah.
Yeah, you
educate
really don't.
people.
I don't think any of us are in it for the money, really.
Right.
We
I
usually
want
have
to
to pay
educate.
out money to be
Yep.
podcasts
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So yeah,
Right.
it's crazy.
You know, we gotta let people know these things exist and they're
Yeah.
out there. Not all of them's bad. Don't go run into the woods with the gun and start shooting at
Right.
everything. See, there's a lot of them that are good, but there's bad, like people, you know, they're bad.
That's the thing that I'm mostly into it for, is to tell you, hey, if you have a big counter, get a hold of me, tell me what happened, and 9 times out of 10, I can put you within feet of a Bigfoot, because they're not all monsters.
Yeah.
There
That's
are
right.
some really good ones.
Yeah.
Same way with the Dogman. Dogman's just trying to stay out of sight, just like a Bigfoot. Of course, you have the rogue ones, but you know, there's a ancient breed of these. They don't mean us any harm, because the way they look, people just assume they're monsters, and they're not capable.
Exactly.
You know.
That's what I was saying. 98, 99% of the time, they're either going to scare you out or scare you personally to do that. So yeah, crazy.
But they walk away, you know, they don't
When they
attack
see
you.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah. I mean,
smile.
if they want you, you're got. There ain't nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You know, I can
Game
I
over.
seen
run.
that.
I can
Yeah.
run up a mild hillside, but I got to take 2 or 3 breaks. They don't, so they'll catch you.
Yeah.
We're getting up
You
there,
know,
that's for sure.
right.
Yeah. All right,
Right.
Bruce. Thank you. We appreciate having you on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Bruce. We
Anybody
really
got
appreciate
Love
any?
to
it,
have you
brother.
again. We'll make sure.
Yeah.
We'll make
Anybody
sure.
got any
You-
questions out there in the audience?
Oh
You
yeah.
you can reach me at Cryptid Wrangler.
Yeah.
Or Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures. Just give
Yeah.
y'all a holler and send me
Either
a.
or. Yeah. No problem.
You
In
know.
fact, I may shoot you some questions on
Yeah.
some of the things that I'm not so familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to, you and Daryl and Martin, all them. It's just really cool to be able to have people from our group or podcast, work with these guys and they answer the questions and whatnot too. So
Right.
I'm sure you have plenty of knowledge on most of
yeah.
that stuff. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
I'll try
All
to do
right.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Bruce. And
Well, you
we
guys have a
definitely,
blessed weekend and a
All
happy
right.
Easter.
definitely,
Yep.
definitely.
Y'all
All
do
right.
the same. Holler back at me, and we'll do another one. And if you got a bunch of
All righty,
questions,
Bruce.
write them up, and I'll try to answer what I can.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Sounds good. All
All
right.
righty.
Thanks, Bruce.
Have a good
All
one,
right.
Bruce.
All right. You
Ready.
too.
Right. All right. Here's another one. Right.
Yeah. I
Another
like
great
Bruce.
one.
He's good. He's a good
Oh
guy.
yeah. Yeah.
The knowledge he got is unreal.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost insane. But I
I want
mean, just a
to
great.
hear some more of his encounters.
Oh yeah. What did he say? He had 28 or 29.
I'd like to hear some more, where he got sent out on calls,
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
he's a
that's
police
true.
officer. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
he's had several of those too.
Yeah. Oh
But,
yeah, I'm sure.
It's sad that, the officers can't really, they can write it down, but it never gets
Yeah.
out. It never gets out to the
Exactly.
public. What?
Yeah.
Like the one
People
where
try,
where
yeah.
the Bigfoot got hit and got 2 broke legs.
Yeah.
You didn't read that in the newspaper,
Yeah, no, not at
and
all.
you never
Yeah.
will. I mean,
And he's so precise too, it's really great. Okay, guys, this is Friday Night
well, you have a
Podcast.
good weekend, Daniel.
Thanks, you too, buddy.
And you're going to release the
Tomorrow morning.
what?
Yeah.
Tomorrow
Yeah,
morning
for
at
Daryl.
9. I want to check that out.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, for everybody else, we're
Well,
gonna
we
do
had a couple in the audience tonight. Maybe it'll keep growing. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, we're
you
getting
know
bigger
what?
and
I
bigger.
seen one. I went back one that we did a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it actually had several views where people watched it after it'd been
Yeah.
recorded and was put on YouTube. So
Yeah. All right. Let me close this down real quick. All right, guys, thank you very much. Tune in tomorrow on YouTube. It's a pre-recorded one, so you can't message
all right.
in there or ask questions. So, anyways,
You have a
thank
good
you guys.
weekend, brother.
Yes, you too, bud. All righty. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for another one. We're having some incredible guests. So, every Friday night, we're talking about moving it to 5, so it's a little bit easier for people to be able to see it. I'm in California, so it makes it even harder. So I apologize, but and I'm losing my voice too. So excellent. Have a good weekend, guys, and happy Easter. Thanks. Bye.